current problem on how sport must always be seen as something masculine. On how the worst thing, this kind of masculinity of sport is always seen as a parameter for society, whether man is mockable or not. When they see a flamboyant guy, they will always refer that this flamboyant guy was homosexual, and that's why they deserve to be mocked by everyone. Because they simply do not fulfill the standard of what a guy should be. They always have a paradigm that guys should always go to the sport, guys should always hide it from mind, guys always should go to sports and have this kind of masculinity. And we want to challenge this idea that happened in status quo because we think that the stigma of society just creates a structural discrimination upon these gay people. And our stance here is clear on how we would like to change and challenge the value of sport, not only to accept the masculine guy, but also on how to accept the homosexual and also the flamboyant, and we think that sport should be accepted by both for masculinity or femininity itself. The mechanism will go as follows. First, we'd like to give a quota for 10% for open homosexual athletes. It means that they're for the homosexual athlete who has opened their identity in sporting teams. And second of all, on how there still always be a selection among those open homosexual athletes to determine which one for them who have the passion and also the technicalities that deserve to go to the sporting team. Our goal here is simple, that we would like to erase the stigma of society that the guy should not always be manly, or we also want to challenge the idea that sport is not always only the place for male guys. Now the argument is, I will bring the arguments whether one first, why it should be through sport, second, why still in line the main idea of sport, and third point, why it should be through special quota. Before that, yes.
In the status quo, we are not discriminating against gays who are open and have the capability to go to the team. They can go to the team. You don't have to give quota for these people, man.
I will explain later how in the status quo, although the coaches have their mechanism to determine which one gay have merit itself, in the end, this still discourage, in the status quo, it still discourages those people to go to the training places since the first place because there is a structural discrimination and structural discouragement coming from society, and also there's a peer pressure itself. Now going to the first argument, why this should be through sport. We think that sport should be responsible for the stigma that happened in the status quo right now, because we think that sport actively sends the message to the society that the athletes should be manly. For example, when you watch the advertisement of, for example, Manchester United, you always see the guy who is very manly, right? For example, how this kind of manly idea is always equal to high determination itself. The parameter, this parameter will be accepted and perceived by the society. The other guy who are not manly, it will always be accepted as the one have flamboyant, and it means that flamboyant means that's not having this kind of high determination itself. We think that the sport was responsible to this kind of image and the structural discrimination that happens in the society. So since in the first place, we think that sport should be responsible to have this kind of quota for the athlete in sporting team itself. Second layer, on how we think that sport is also part of government's proxy to create a social changes, right? We think that sport is also social engineering, right? Because why so? In the past, we have seen on how sport is being utilized by the government to unite the society itself in the society. For example, on how government uses sport and football to unite conflicting tribes, for example. On how, because in this kind of competition, they're told to compete fairly on the fair ground without seeing the races and so forth and so on. We think that also on how the government has endorsed the value of anti-racism, right? That's why the government always condemns the idea that when this player do racism, they will be penalized by the sporting institution itself. So the nutshell is on how there's always value that the government wants to transcend from the society through this kind of sport. This is why we think it's justifiable for government to use sport as part of the social engineering itself. Moreover, not to mention on how athletes has a very big contribution, how they influence the spectators itself. When, for example, when they do something, either it's good value or it's a bad value, the spectator will always follow and imitate. For example, on how John Terry has slapping a girl, but then again the spectator still cheering to him up. We think that this is the bad value, but what you can extract from these lessons is on how the spectator will always imitate any kind of value that your player is doing in the field or outside of their life or outside of their field. The second argument, why is it in line the meritocracy, right? That's why we think that the idea that we have selection among these homosexual people, right? And we're not randomly pick those homosexuals to go directly to this kind of sport team. We still consider their efforts and impression to be measured since the first place. Second of all, we think that it still will be a fair ground for every sporting team, because once this policy is applied for every sporting teams, it means that every sporting team will also have a 10% quota for this kind of homosexual athletes itself. Now going to the third argument, why it should be true special quota, right? It directly clash to the POI coming from the opposing opposition. We think that although probably the status quo right now, there are some coaches who will determine only athletes based on their merit, right? But we think that since in the first place, these gay people who probably have a potential to excel in sport itself doesn't have any encouragement to go into the sporting teams in the first place. Why so? Because we think that the idea that they are gay and they are open to society, they have been mocked by everyone. It discourages their friends in the sporting team to even hang out with them, even to have a practice to join practice session for them. We think that this kind of peer pressure is even much larger than comparing what the coach accepted itself. Since the first place, this kind of peer pressure has created a mindset for these gay people that sport is not always meant to be for me, because I'm a gay people and that's why I cannot go to this kind of sporting teams. In the end, we think that their idea, if we only want to pursue for this kind of meritocracy, that will not be a thing in the first place, because there is a slow structural discrimination on how since the first place even discourage those people to go to the sporting teams since the first place. So what opening government as the first set up this debate. First, we have explained to you why this kind of social engineering should be through sport, and second of all, why still in line with the main idea of sport, which is the meritocracy and the fair ground itself, and third argument on how why it should be always through the spatial quota. So based on this reason, we are proud to open the debate. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, clearly the opening governments maybe still live in the olden times where they believe that this, had homosexual people or these gay people still, acting like flamboyant and, social discrimination is still happening in the status quo right now and all that kind of stuff. But we believe that organized change is already happening in the status quo, and the LGBT movement has already proving themselves better by, having their own demonstration, having their own, a movement by showing how this homosexual, this LGBT are actually equal in the first place with the society, right, ladies and gentlemen. So the idea of the social discrimination and all the peer pressure does not stand in the opening government case, right, ladies and gentlemen. So first, the problem that they brought, right. But sport is all about masculinity, and it becomes a parameter of how to fulfill how a guy should be, right. We can see to the fact that okay, sport is actually masculine sports. Even like the women football, all the women look like they're all buffed up and all that kind of stuff, right, ladies and gentlemen. It is because they have trained so hard, they have trained their muscles so hard. They go to practice, they pick up weight, they go to gym every day, and that's why their body looks like that. And even if like this homosexual people, like this LGBT, went through the same thing, like they are put in a sporting event, they will not be look like flamboyant and all that stuff like what the opening government has mentioned, because the training is so hard, because the training to build your muscles is already, it's going to be there, right? So the mechanism that she also talked about the quota 10% and also about the selection to this homosexual. The quota 10% is still going to be big. Like for example, in a football team there are 11 players, and 10% is already one player, which is one player in the team is very crucial to winning the championship of the game, to winning championship of a cup. And this one person, even if you already select the person from the homosexual people, it's still different compared to to having the open admission, open selection to all parts of the society, like whether they're straight or homosexual. And so the stance of the opening opposition is that we are not against homosexual or all kind of stuff. We support them, but we believe in like sporting teams is not it's not a channel to do this. It's not a channel to change the stigma and to change the social discrimination. And we believe that the essence of sportsmanship still has to be there. But first, several response toward the opening government, right? Listen for that.
We think that sport is always a channel for change, right? For example, back then, when in fact people still not accepted in society, government created a quota for their black people. And then it took black people to be a role model for every society that they
fact that even back in the days, like when the social stigma still believed that black people is bad and all those kind of stuff, the government had to step in. But in this case, we're living in the 21st century where globalization is going to be there. There are so many gay rights movement, and like not all people are flamboyant and cannot do anything. Like for example, Neil Patrick Harris, like playing Barney in How I Met Your Mother, he's like proving that being himself is like proving that to be a great actor. So first, okay, several response. Why sports, right, ladies and gentlemen? They believe that it actively stands and it's government proxy to change the social stigma. Okay, we believe that these athletes have influence on the spectators, but how these athletes influence the spectators is because they play excellent football players, like for example John Terry that they mentioned. Well, like for example, okay, John Terry has been accused of racism and for all that kind of stuff. But why the society still believe in John Terry? Because he plays in excellent football match. Because he fulfills the role as a football player. And maybe there are some bad things happening to him because of the social pressure and all that kind of stuff. But we're not going to be debating about that. Okay, right? And second of all, the idea of meritocracy that she mentioned is actually clashing with my argument, so it will be integrated in my speech. And having like this, it shows a belief like it will not encouraging these people like this homosexual are actually mocked. And even if like peer pressure happens when they go already being in a sporting teams, even in their case, peer pressure, like it will still continue if they continue having quota, which I will explain more in my argument. So in my speech, I will deliver 3 arguments, right? First, the principle of meritocracy, which clashes directly. Second of all, it's actually a mismatch problem and the solution. And third, the actual essence of sportsmanship. First, the principles of meritocracy. When it goes to sporting teams, like the football teams, basketball teams, and all the kind of things, they compete to be in the spot. They compete themselves very hard. They went to this medical test, they went to capability test, and not only only a less capable people can go through this, ladies and gentlemen. The society pay and watch because of this extreme qualification, because they know that like these people have tried so hard, these people have went through they maybe went to junior academy and all that kind of stuff, right? They see the process and they see the way of how these people really want to be a part of the team. And like even for example, like I know a football, because in fact there are homosexual football players like Anton Haysen from Sweden. Like he does not need, like Sweden does not need to have a quota to have homosexual athletes in sporting events. He or she can just prove their capability in order to be in the team, and therefore it shows less discrimination towards these people. And my second argument is that this is a mismatch problem and solution. And by this concept, actually the society mindset and society stigma will degrade, they will degrade this homosexuals even more. Because like for example, when Spain is winning the World Cup, winning the the locals cup, but afterward, probably when they fulfill this quota, they fall, they're not winning anything. So the social mindset will oh, what happened? Is it because of the gays going in on the teams, or because there are some policy that the government is actually imposing? But we still believe in the organic change that the homosexuals or these gay people are not actually being socially discriminated as before, ladies and gentlemen. So we don't need to extend the movement until supporting a quota to a sporting event, right? So second of all, about the discrimination of the people of the homosexuals, we believe because they're not capable enough, because there is a quota to fulfill, then they can join the football teams. They believe that it's not because of their capability that they can join, but it's because just the sporting teams have to actually just fulfill the quota that the government is actually imposing. It will create a mindset also to the society, to all the homosexuals, that these homosexuals have to be treated differently to be accepted by the society. They have to be given a special chance, special treatment, just because society, maybe think differently, as what the opening government is mentioning. And third of all, about the essence of sportsmanship. As I've explained, the essence of sportsmanship is to be fair to all the people. They have equal standards. They have their own system and regulation, and themselves they have their own pay certain tax to the government. They have their own system, and they cannot be burdened again by this extra policy that the government is imposing. So because this is a mismatch problem and solution, we're very proud to oppose.